You know, one of the greatest pleasures that I have at FDIC is being allowed to introduce my friends to the rest of my friends. And there's an old saying that friends will help you move, but real friends will help you hide the bodies. Well, if that saying's true, then Ray McCormack would be my own personal undertaker. There are few fire officers in America today who are receiving the amount of experience that FDNY Lieutenant Ray McCormack receives on a daily basis as the officer on Ladder 28 in Harlem, New York. But there's far more to Ray McCormack than just his level of experience. Ray is one of those few gifted leaders, one of those few gifted firefighters who understands that experience without reflection and evaluation, it's just interesting. Ray continues to set a standard for excellence, not just in his teaching at FDIC, but across the nation, whether it's in his writing for fire engineering or with New York firefighters, but also within the FDNY itself. Ray is considered by his peers at the FDNY to be one of the finest officers serving today. And we know Ray's deep passion for our profession. We have seen it time and time again whether he's conceiving training minutes video series. There was a time when we had to pick who it was going to be, and there was no one in the room's name that was more immediately grabbed upon for the Engine Company series than Lieutenant Ray McCormack. Please help me in welcoming one of the finest fire officers in America today, one of the FDNY's very, very best, Lieutenant Ray McCormack.
Good morning. Did you see that? Chief handing over command to me? I usually don't get that honor unless there's still salvage work to be done. Well, it must have been a 13-step size-up march I did. Thank you, Chief Halton, for that wonderful introduction. I was talking to the chief before I came out, and he told me an interesting story about when he worked in Albuquerque. He told me that they only had fires during the day. I couldn't believe it. But he said it was actually good because it freed their nights to look for UFOs. In fact, when Chief Halton first come to Indy and saw the RCA Dome, he couldn't believe one of them had finally landed. And when he heard it was coming down, he tried to book himself on the last flight. My name is Ray, and I like to go to fires. It's okay to say that, right? I can tell most of you feel the same way. Just before I came here, I got my new sector vest. It's highly reflective, and it goes over your highly reflective bunker coat. Mine looks just like the one at Walmart. It even has a happy face on it. In the back, it says, "Ask me about fires." I didn't think I'd like it, but it's starting to grow on me. I'd like to thank all the people at Fire Engineering in Penwell who I've had the pleasure to work with over the years. Mary Jane Ditmar and Rob Maloney for editing my pieces, but never changing them. Of course, Diane Feldman for keeping me on track and organizing everything. And former editor Bill Manning, who gave me my start with the magazine. And some special friends at FDIC who have always been in my corner, Jack Murphy and Bill Brown. I would also like to thank my wife Laura and my son Tyler, who allow me to come to this wonderful event every year. I love you. There are some really great classes here at FDIC. Just like you, I try and incorporate what I learn here, like reading Smoke. I enjoy reading Smoke. The only problem is most of the Smoke I see is very poorly written. FDIC has it all. There are command classes, engine classes, ladder, rescue, even fire prevention. And every year, you can pick up some new buzzwords and phrases to bedazzle the people who paid for your trip. You can take an 8-hour workshop, 2-hour classroom sessions. The selection is wider than the difference between East and West Coast fire tactics. Just a little tip for all you future presenters out there. You have to be careful with really specific classes like fighting fires in 2-story beachfront motels. Not that that couldn't be important, it's just such a niche market. For those of you who have never seen me present at FDIC, I did the Engine Company Errors class, the Dirty Dozen, yesterday. which looks at the 12 most common mistakes made by engine companies on the fireground and how to correct them. If you did not attend, shame on you. You were probably too busy taking risk management, customer care, situational awareness, ventilation profiling, smoothbore versus fog, and portable ladder drags while securing a safer grant. Let me just say you missed an awesome class. The nice thing about the Dirty Dozen is the information is job relevant. It can be implemented right away without any additional department expense, and it comes with the added bonus of not requiring a cultural change. My normal classroom style is to roam around in front of the stage while using the microphone as an impromptu hose line to emphasize points I make. But this morning, I'm staying right here. I'm trying to conserve my air. But don't worry, people, I will finish my speech before my low air alarm goes off. Every day in this country, firefighters put out fires successfully, without injury, without loss of life, without fanfare, without newsprint, and some of you without compensation. The highest praise comes from your fellow firefighters, those you respond with and depend on. 2 little words, nice job. That's all I have to say. It will make your day. And I'll let you in on a little secret. It can make your career too. After I graduated Proby School, I received a card from a retired captain who was a family friend. Inside, he included a note that said if I could be half the firefighter my dad was, I'd be a tremendous success. My dad died a year and a half later. I still have that note. I reluctantly went into the family biz, the fire service. You can always quit was a quote I would hear, but the likelihood of it becoming reality diminished with every passing day. My father didn't push me. He didn't have to. He knew that I would already love it. My mom did not discourage me, even though she had experienced the knock, not once, but twice. The first time was to inform her of her brother's death, Captain William Russell, Engine 325, father of 4, who was killed in a collapse along with 5 other firefighters after the fire was extinguished. I would like to think that events like that would never happen again, but unfortunately 2 firefighters were killed several years ago under similar circumstances. The second knock on the door was from my father, who was seriously injured in an apparatus accident, almost losing his foot. The New York City Fire Department gives every new firefighter a book of regulations. That book has a red cover. One could make a strong case that the book has been written in blood. I know for sure that one of those rules was created in blood for my father's accident. No matter how you enter the fire service, you end up making it your own. My department career, like yours, went in stages. Completion of Proby School, assignment to a company, your first tour. I was assigned to Ladder Company 24 in Midtown Manhattan, just like where I was told I would be going. So you see, the first hook you use in FDNY is not to pull a ceiling, it's to get the company you want. My hook was through the Emerald Society. Yep, even Irish guys need a ride-by once in a while. My first tour involved so many laps around the apparatus there was a noticeable depression of the concrete by morning. I was trying to take it all in, which of course was impossible, but it made for good entertainment. What really made the night special, besides the loving abuse I took, was the speech I received from the senior man. I can't remember every word, but what did stick in my head was, do your job and remember it's a privilege to work here. He was right, and I never forgot it. I almost always knew what my assignment would be when I worked there without the benefit of roll call. All I had to do was go into the kitchen and see who was there. The can. And for those of you who don't speak FDNY, the can firefighter carries a 2.5-gallon extinguisher and a 6-foot hook. I learned 3 important lessons from that position. I learned how officers operate, how best to swing the axe and set the halligan, and when and how to use the extinguisher. I carried that can religiously for 3 years. It took that long for my right arm to shrink back to its original size. One day I had to detail a rescue one. One of the firefighters getting off that morning was their senior man. He quickly showed me around the rig and helped me get squared away. We went to several fires, and then in the early afternoon, he returned to work the night tour again, offering me the opportunity to take off early. I informed him that I was also working and that he should relieve someone else, so I stuck around, and I watched as he cleaned the tools and generally worked on getting things squared away. This man had 30 years on the job, a career's worth in the rescue alone. I watched as he did things many senior firefighters delegate to those who were junior. He didn't do that. Why? Because he enjoyed it, and he was a true senior man. He led by example. Cleaning tools is not some lowly act to be done by the junior firefighter. Like firefighting, it is a group effort. He was as tough as nails. He enjoyed getting dirty, and nothing made him happier than going to fires. His name was Joe Angelini. He epitomized what a firefighter should be. I ran into him and 3 friends I used to work with 3 weeks prior to 9/11. He was the senior firefighter for FDNY at the time. All 4 of those gentlemen were killed on 9/11. I was indeed fortunate to work where I worked as a firefighter. It brought me here today. The first article I wrote for the magazine was extremely long and covered a bunch of subtopics, until I showed it to a deputy chief who worked in my firehouse, you may have heard of, Vincent Dunn. He read it and pointed out the short article contained inside that manifesto. It became the first ever truck company column for Fire Engineering magazine. Another man you may have heard of kept his car in our firehouse, Father Michael Judge, FDNY chaplain, whose church was across the street. Spent many hours with him. His special insight and manner always made you feel at peace. The night before I got promoted, the lieutenant asked me if I wanted to take his seat instead. I declined and explained to Lieutenant Bill McGinn that I would be doing that for the rest of my career, and I would prefer to have the irons. We had a fire. I forced 2 doors, so that made me happy. Watching an unusually friendly new firefighter in Rescue 1 did not prepare me for our meeting on a rooftop on Broadway, where Kevin Shea trusted me to lower him 13 floors above the street to rescue a trapped civilian. My time in the truck was great. I was promoted to lieutenant and assigned to Battalion 1-6 in Harlem, where I currently assign. While working in the neighborhood engine as a covering officer, a captain presented me with an offer I couldn't refuse. Did I want to come to 69 engine? When the most famous member of FDNY asks you to come on board the best engine in the city, you hope you can live up to Patty Brown's expectations. I spent over 10 years in 69, where I was told I made a good transition between trucking and firefighter. I'm currently assigned to Ladder 28. You can't ask for a better place to work. We talk about training. Let me tell you, you know where you want to get to in training? Where your people are self-motivated and start their own training. That's the place that is. A Harlem Hilton, #1 in customer and firefighter satisfaction. There's nothing wrong with today's firefighters. I hear a lot about these college kids entering the fire service. But believe it or not, we had college kids joining the fire service back in the 80s. I know, I was one of them. It's not a new thing. Yes, it can seem overwhelming sometimes that all our firefighters now have a degree instead of a trade. But it's up to you to make sure you develop a trade in them, the trade of firefighter. There is, however, something wrong with some of today's leadership and the message they are spreading. The path they have chosen to follow is paved with yellow safety bricks. If you follow this road, it could cause the fire service to suffer its greatest collective loss, the loss of public trust. Think about it for a second. All the goodwill we have accumulated, the faith, the support, gone. Why? Because we have changed the pecking order. The firefighter is now #1, and the public is #2. I always thought that the customer was #1. I believe that the constant barrage of safety messages is undermining our sworn duty. A fire department that writes off civilians faster than an express line of 6 reasons or less is not progressive. It's dangerous because it's run by fear. Fear does not save lives, it endangers it. We built safety into all our operational tasks. Our SCBA is pre-tested to work, hose lines charged before entry. But your personal safety should not be about fear. Fear is the firefighter's enemy. Should you be cautious and knowledgeable? Yes. Should you be fearful? No. Our leaders need poise, not fear. Too much safety makes Johnny a poor leader and a terrible rescuer. Let's get straight. Let's get this part straight. I don't wish to see anyone seriously injured or killed. However, we've started to turn a corner in the fire service, and the street it leads us to may have a worse ending than what we're trying to avoid. If you preface everything with, you the firefighter are the most important person on the scene, or you are number one, hold on. I love my brother the firefighter too, but what about the civilians we swore to protect? When you think you are number one, because all you have ever heard is you're number one, you will start to believe it. This order, this pecking order, is the problem. Why risk yourself for those less important? The steady drip of safety messages really necessary? Many would argue, yes, it is. That if we don't constantly remind you of how dangerous the job can be, you'll get hurt. If you read the safety message warning inside your helmet, it plainly states that firefighting is an inherently dangerous job. It's dirty, difficult, demanding, and dangerous, just the way it will always be, no matter how much we try to make it safer. Attempting to make your job safer by teaching you to place yourself above those in need is wrong and goes against everything the fire service has ever stood for. We have the highest approval rating and respect of any profession. Why is that? Because we do what has to be done. We are noble. We are self-sacrificing. We are willing to risk our lives to save a total stranger. When we modify or tweak that thinking along the lines of saving lives, we not only risk a fall from public grace, we risk something much more harmful, the loss of our identity. There are many tasks you perform every day that are not fire-related, but only firefighters put out fires. When that parent meets you outside their house and tells you their child is inside trapped, you are their last hope. What are you going to do? You must find a way in to save that life if humanly possible. What are your chances? Your chances are always the same. They're 50-50. Either you do it or you don't. You must call upon what's inside you, your courage, your determination, your will. You must shed your personal cocoon of safety and take a risk. If it was easy, someone else would have done it already. What's going to be more difficult for you? Figuring the quickest way in and the quickest way out? Or you're in a conflict because you don't do high-risk profile? Let's not let them down. They're all we have. Here are the cliff notes. We need leaders at the command level and company level who value courage, determination, and pride. We need leaders who inspire our people. We need leaders who understand that what we do makes a difference. It makes a difference that we turn out quickly. It makes a difference that we stretch correctly. It makes a difference that we do a search. It makes a difference that we have leaders who believe in the core values of courage, determination, and pride. What do I know? I'm just an urban firefighter. I know all about heroes. I know all about sacrifice. I know all about courage. I see it in all of you. I worked at Ground Zero on a one-month detail back in January 2002. There were no survivors. The only thing we could bring out of there was dignity to the people we found. And we found several. We found firefighters. One day a firefighter was found and identified. That firefighter was the son of an active battalion chief. I watched as his body was carried up a muddy hill to a waiting ambulance. The detail stood at attention along the side of the roadway. There was silence as the battalion chief, along with firefighters from his son's company, helped carry his son out of the pit. I thought to myself, where do you get the strength? Where do you get the strength while your heart is ripped apart? Where do you get the strength to see all your dreams and hopes for someone you love vanish? I don't know where you get that strength. But I do know the events of that day showed the world that we are very special people, that we are willing to risk our lives for others, to do what needs to be done, and that we care deeply. That month was the most physically and emotionally draining month I ever worked in my life. It was also the most rewarding. We do not need a culture of safety. We need a culture of extinguishment. We have firefighters killed on a nozzle. We have firefighters getting killed on a nozzle. And while these programs are nice, a lot of our energies are focused on RIT and saving our own. We have to remember about the civilians who don't have the luxury of masks and everything else. If we put out the fire, safety is accomplished for everyone on the fireground. There are state fire conferences where there are no engine classes given. That's a disgrace. We need to get the first line right. We need to commit staffing to that line. We need to push in and put the fire out. The engine only gets one shot at success. Let's give it to them and increase everyone's safety. We have instructors who've never worked on fire trucks telling our people how to do things. Show me the credibility in that. You may be a certified instructor with a year in the fire service, but besides reading slides, what else do you bring to the table? I know what your resume says, but what's missing from it is probably much more telling. Some have told you that if you never went to another fire, you would be a successful organization, and that by having fires, we have failed. I'm here to tell you that you have not failed, because there is a fire in your area. We will fail if we do not exercise and practice our craft. It's a privilege to be in the fire service. It's a privilege to work with people who care about other people. It's a privilege to be accepted in the family of firefighters. Today is about finding your personal spark. If you're lucky, you find it right away. The fire service holds out one for each of us. Once you find it, keep it. Once you find it, share it. Once you find it, realize how truly fortunate you are. Learn all you can about the enemy. Train. Try new methods. Be careful out there. And remember to keep fire in your life. Thank you for attending. Have a great conference. I'm here all week.